On everybody, happy Footy Friday. It is good to be back in the 22 West studio to talk some footy. My name is Zach. I'm here with JD and Diego. How are you guys doing on this fine Friday?
Doing all right. Bit of a whirlwind week, but we're here. We're ready to talk some footy.
Absolutely.
Feels like we've been going for almost a month, huh?
I know. How was you guys' spring break? I was out of town.
Spring break? We haven't done a show since spring break.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's a while.
Well, for the most part, for me, it's been pretty busy. Just doing some projects here and there.
What kind of projects?
Starting a podcast about 3 weeks ago, working on some shorts here and there for my YouTube channel, stuff like that.
Yes, sir.
Right on.
They have all been fired, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Podcast is bumping. Man, it's been a while since we've actually been in here to do a show. That's crazy.
Indeed.
But, yeah, we're coming up towards the end of the semester here.
Yeah, how are you guys' classes going?
Fine. I mean, I got, just a few projects to figure out, a few articles to write. We're coming down to the end, so
Nice.
I'm gathering sources at the moment, compiling information.
That's always the fun part, dealing with sources. That's one thing I don't miss about journalism classes. Just you're writing a story about this, you're writing a story about that. You mix up your sources,
Oh, yeah.
You can forget when or who you talk to. So
Yeah.
And then, of course, you got to write an AP format. You got to remember the different
Oh,
style of writing.
that's one thing I'm terrible at, guys. It's the formatting thing. I've learned MLA format all through my middle school and high
totally
school years.
relatable.
And then I did a class last semester. We did Chicago style,
Ooh.
and then now it's all about AP style. That's one thing I'll never, I think, understand is how to do the styles properly.
yeah, once you get it, you get it. I mean, I need a physical book. Like when they were like, oh, buy the online version of the AP book. I'm like, no, I need to go to Barnes & Noble, buy a physical book so that when I need it, I can just flip through it. So that helps me a lot. Yeah, let's get right into it. Plenty to talk about. A lot of Champions League action. Let's go right into the semifinals as they've already been drawn. It's Arsenal taking on PSG,
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
and it's Inter Milan taking on Barcelona. I guess we should start with the Real Madrid-Arsenal game, or I guess two legs. Because that was kind of, I don't want to say a head scratcher. I'm not surprised by the result. Obviously, Real Madrid have not been like as in form as we've seen them, but the way it happened, I think Arsenal just felt in control across those 180 minutes.
Oh, yeah. I think when we were in here with Desi for the last show that we did, we talked about how Real Madrid just aren't themselves anymore. So, yeah, not surprising the result, but surprising that, for such a long time, Real Madrid didn't even look like they were going to threaten Arsenal. Like, that's a testament to Arteta Ball and the guys he put out there. Like, hats off to him. I'm very impressed with Arsenal at the moment.
Well, at this point, I mean, smiles all around. What can I say? I think at this point, though, it is kind of safe to assume, I guess, that the main goal right now is the Champions League because the Premier League is lost.
Mm-hmm.
Liverpool yet to win it this Sunday, most likely. But, yeah, I think Arsenal's mindset right now is to win the Champions League. I think they're, like I said in the previous episode, it's all hands on deck for the Champions League from here on out. Because at this point, that is literally the only thing that's left for us to win. The only possible trophy that we could win this season is the Champions League. So, again, my prediction is that we will reach the final. This is what I said. If we beat Real Madrid, then we do have a solid chance of actually pulling it off. I do believe we're beating PSG. Most likely we're facing Barca. I don't know if we're beating Barca at that point, but I do believe and predict that we will reach the final this season.
That's bold. I don't know if you guys beat PSG because I know they struggled against Villa, but for me, they're still the favorites.
I think so too. And I mean, the way that second leg at Villa went down, they went up 2-0 and they conceded 3 straight and brought Villa back into the game. They got that out of their system. And if they do it again, that's on them. Fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice.
Right.
But I feel like they got that out of their system. They got close to, being on the wrong end of the La Remontada again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many years ago that was against Barcelona, but still think about that to this day. I don't think that'll ever be topped in terms of a Champions League comeback. But Aston Villa, they had that chance. So PSG, I get that, like, maybe they don't have, like, we haven't seen them, like, dominate over 2 legs. And very easily, Arsenal could just, fall flat, lose 1-0 in the first leg, and then 3-1 in leg 2.
Yeah.
So it'll be an interesting battle. I'm more interested in this leg than the Inter-Barcelona matchup. I feel like that one's going to be a lot more tactical. Inter are going to, it'll be interesting to see what Barcelona do with their high line. I was listening to the morning footy show. They were talking about this big game this Saturday. Is it Saturday or Sunday? El Clasico for Copa del Rey final.
Mm-hmm.
How do Barcelona go about that game, knowing that they have Inter Milan in leg 1 next week? I know this is kind of a transition, but I was just curious.
Yeah, that's interesting. Just because, again, this is what, the 5th El Clasico this season? They've played each other so many
4
times.
or 5, I think. And they still have to play again in the league.
Like, it's so many El Clasicos. It's kind of lost its sting. I mean, just talking to our guy Brandon out here, he's like, I'm going to go see El Clasico this weekend at Legends. I'm like, there's another one? Because there's been so many.
Yeah.
But it's interesting for Barcelona simply because they have so many fixtures to deal with, and they're in a title race. The reason I say PSG are my favorites right now to win this whole thing is because their fixture congestion is not as bad as anybody else. And they're not in title race. Title's already done in France. Inter, they're still in a title race. In fact, they've dropped points now in the league, which makes it all that more important.
They just lost to Bologna.
They lost to Bologna. They're level on points with Napoli. Like, they had a big gap, and the more that they've focused on the Champions League, they've fallen. Barcelona still in a title race. Real Madrid are not going away. We know that. Arsenal not in a title race, but you still want to hold on to second place.
At this point, who cares?
But PSG at least don't have to worry about a Copa del Rey final.
Yeah.
They don't have to worry about what's happening in the midweek.
They can afford to put all their eggs in one basket, which could be a blessing and a curse. Like you said, Barcelona, they're still trying to win La Liga. They're still trying to win the Champions League, and they've got this Copa del Rey final on Saturday. So there's 3 trophies on the table for Barcelona this season. Do they need all 3? I mean, they would like all 3, but it's not like they need to go 3 for 3 to have this be a successful season.
Yeah.
Right.
If they win La Liga and they win the Copa del Rey against Real Madrid, but don't win the Champions League, I think that's still a very successful season.
I think they need to go 2 for 3 though.
Yeah, I agree.
Whatever they do, they got to go 2 for 3.
As long as they don't bottle La Liga. La Liga has to be one of those 2.
Yeah.
La Liga and then either Copa del Rey or Champions League or both. But like if you slip up a 4-point lead to your rivals with how many games in hand? 5 games in hand, then that's not going to look good for the higher ups.
Oh yeah.
I think it really depends on the mindset of not just the players but also the manager. Because obviously, if you're the manager, it's not impossible for you to win the 3 trophies, but you also have to set realistic expectations. You need to set priorities. Which trophy do we really want to win more, the Champions League, La Liga, or Copa del Rey? If you ask me, La Liga and the Champions League has more value than the Copa del Rey, especially with this accumulation of El Clásicos versus Real Madrid. Like this whole season, La Liga in Spain has been Barca versus Real Madrid at this point. So yeah, that's how I feel. I think it's just a matter of mindset and just setting up your priorities
and rotating those players too. Like you can't make it to the Champions League final and have Lamine Yamal on his last legs.
Yeah,
you got to rotate these young kids because we're getting to that point of the season where they've got 40, 50 games under their belt, which is insane.
Yeah, I always think about that picture of Pedri from a couple of years ago, and he played it was like a ridiculous amount of games in a calendar year. It was like 65, 70. Yeah. So,
and this is where we get to the point too. I know we talked about it when we first got the Champions League format, but this is also where we get to the point and see how players hold up with this new format going into the summer, going into the Club World Cup, however seriously teams are going to take that. But like this last final stretch of games will really determine how much players have left in the tank for these top clubs that have played so many matches.
Yeah, I feel like that's just part of the game as it grows, as the players get stronger. Their shelf life within a season and their career extends, and so we're seeing players play more games than ever, play longer than ever, with all these extra fixtures, replays. 12 minutes of extra time. I mean, players are playing more than they ever have, and they're having to do it at an incredible, exceedingly increasing pace. Like, it's not going to stop from here. That's what I'm trying to say. So, I think you're right. Like, those teams with future young pieces that are a huge part of their first team, the Pedris, the Yamals, even for Tottenham, like Lucas Bergvall, 19 years old. He's been bossing around the midfield, starting for them. Like, I'm worried that he's going to have no legs by the time he's 22, like just because he's so important to us. So you need to rotate your young players, especially so you don't burn them out.
Oh yeah.
So with those 4 teams, who are we seeing in the final? I know you said Arsenal, Barcelona.
Yes.
JD.
PSG, Barcelona.
I think that's what we're going to get to. I think we could both be wrong, and we could easily see Arsenal Inter, but I think on paper that will not be an entertaining final. I'm just going
Really?
to go ahead and say it. I just don't think it would be an entertaining final. Arsenal, Inter, I see that being a 1-0 Inter win.
No, I think Inter Milano, I think we don't talk about them too much because they're such a defensive team. They're not fun to talk about. But they are really, really good.
They are.
Unfortunately, against Bayern Munich, they played like the last 15 minutes of that game just kicking the ball around because they were exhausted.
Yeah.
They had to defend for 90 minutes and launched like 2 good counterattacks. But Inter Milan are the non-glamorous pick for this year's Champions League. They didn't concede, all but 2 goals in that entire league phase. And if you really stick with that defense win championships mentality, then Inter should be your favorites.
Yeah.
But they got so much on their plate right now.
I was going to say, like, Bayern were so close to at least leveling it. Harry Kane missed a sitter, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't miss those often.
He does when trophies are on the line.
Speaking of Harry Kane and trophies, I saw that his first trophy, because they're going to win the Bundesliga, his first trophy isn't even a cup, it's a plate.
Yeah.
This man is yet to win a cup. Pour one out for Harry Kane. Let's transition to the Europa League. I think we said this a long time ago, and I think we're about to see it. Fingers crossed. Are we going to see an all-English European final? Yes or no?
No.
After that comeback for
No.
Manchester United?
Here's the thing. I think it's possible, but as an Arsenal fan, I agree. No.
No.
Please no.
My dream Europa League final is Athletic Club Bodo Glimt. Like
Yeah.
that's such the dream.
That is, I mean,
100%
from a, if I wasn't a Tottenham fan, I would absolutely agree with you and
Yeah.
say, yeah, like that is, I think there's no wrong answer. I think all 4 teams have a very good case for why they should win. Now, some of them are better than others. Obviously, I think Man United are at the bottom of why their case is why they should win.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, Tottenham haven't won a trophy in 17 years. They need this one. Ange needs it. There's reports that are saying that they're going to fire him regardless if he wins or not. I think that's nonsense. Just go out and get this trophy, But as you said, Athletic Club, their host, the final is in Bilbao.
That's so
Like,
good.
they get to they have an opportunity to host a European final in their home grounds, which I think a few teams have done before, if I'm wrong, right?
Yeah.
It's been done before.
I can't think of one off the top of the head, but I always grew up as a football fan, American football fan, thinking what if the Denver Broncos get to host the Super Bowl and we make it? And it was such a far off prospect to think of it. And I didn't see it until 2020 when the Buccaneers hosted their Super Bowl in Tampa Bay, and that was electric.
But the Rams did too.
And the Rams did too. It's so cool when a home team plays a championship in a randomly selected venue.
Yeah.
It's so rare. I think Athletic Club, though, their whole history of only basque players.
It's so unique.
So unique. And we saw what happened when they won, I believe it was the Copa del Rey a few years ago. And that river was just packed with fans on the boats. Imagine the Europa League scenes when they get to play a home final. The people are going to go crazy.
If they are in that final, I pray for Bodo or Spurs.
Yeah.
That's a tough atmosphere. But I know that UEFA are very corrupt. We'll say that, for lack of better terms. But I know that they have all these weird regulations of who gets tickets, how many X amount of tickets are allocated to both fan bases.
Mm-hmm.
The rest are open to the public. But amongst that public, it's a battle between the fan bases. I'm support this team, but I'm not going in support of the team. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting to see how many non-Bilbao fans are able to sneak into that stadium, assuming that Bilbao get past Man United. That's a tough task. Man United in form, we can talk all we want about the Premier League season, but they still have not lost in Europe.
I still can't believe it. Someone make it make sense for me. 14th place, absolutely crap in the league. Just to be the only team undefeated in European competition this season?
Every European competition.
I don't get it. I really don't get it.
I mean, it was very close to ending sourly. I just can't, can we talk about that Man United-Lyon game?
Oh, man. Look, as someone who dislikes United, I just can't believe they got away with it. How did they get away with it? This is the second time in a row, in 2 rounds back-to-back. I just don't get it.
I was sitting up in my room after doing work. I missed the first 90 minutes. So I went and caught up, caught up the little highlights, saw the goals, and then I had a friend text me going, "You need to tune into this. They're going to extra time. It's going to be something." And I couldn't believe I sat there for half an hour, and I'm not a United fan either by any means, but I love that comeback, and I love the atmosphere. I love that they were tossing children in the air. That was so cool. That was so cool.
Yeah,
5 goals in extra time.
Most ever in a European tie.
It's crazy, dude. Harry Maguire at the end. It had to be him. He always does that, doesn't he? He always does that.
He did it against Leicester in the FA Cup earlier this season.
Did you guys see who the man of the match was?
Was it Bruno Fernandes?
It was Casemiro.
That's
with a 9.4 rating.
Wow.
He completed 86% of his passes, 1/1 on shot accuracy, 2 out of 3 on accurate long balls, 3 out of 3 on his tackles won, 7 out of 10 ground duels. Like, he put in a prime Casemiro performance.
Might be his best performance ever in a United shirt.
Redemption mark over here?
But yeah, I mean, if it weren't for Kobe Mainoo and Harry Maguire, you know, they would have lost their first. That would have been their first loss in the European season, and they would have been out.
Would have been out.
Like their first and only loss would have. That would have been it. So, shout out to Man United. I don't really give them any shout outs enough, but Maher, if you're listening, up the Reds, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you got to feel happy for the fans as well.
Yeah.
I mean, almost everyone will tell you that was one of, if not the best games they've ever attended at Old Trafford.
That was one of the best games I've ever watched, and that's just watching that extra time.
Yeah,
because it felt different, right? You know, when that stadium feels like it's going to erupt. I know Villa Park kind of felt like that against PSG.
Yeah, definitely.
For a second, but for United to actually pull it off, and then to have those scenes, like you can dislike United all you want, and I'm not a fan of Jim Ratcliffe or their ownership and all the stuff that they're doing. But nevertheless, the product on the pitch and what it means to the fans is still, I think, separate. You can still separate those two things.
Indeed.
And that was it was such a cool night. It was so cool whoever's doing the camera work really killed it.
Give them a raise.
Because I love it too. And there's a little bit of like a, I don't know, personal fascination is when the camera focuses on like one person or one family or one individual through like the course of a thing.
Yeah, I know.
Like when you have like the Michigan college football fan who's like hands on his head after yelling. Like, I love that kind of stuff because you see, or the Croatia fan from the Euros who was all like stoic with a shirt on, and then after extra time when they come back against, I forget who it was, Spain, he's got his shirt off and he's yelling. Right when they were showing those kids, who were crying. And just literally in tears when they were down 4-2. And you see them at full time, and they're the ones getting tossed in the air. That was awesome. That was so awesome because it shows you that, like, that's not, if they weren't a lifelong fan already, going to the games and all that, like, they'll never forget that.
Yeah, they are now. They're locked in forever.
Yeah.
They don't have a choice. They're Man United fans, whether they like it or not.
In parentheses, unfortunately.
Well, let's flip things to the other side of the bracket. I'll talk about my Spurs first. They got it done. It wasn't pretty. 1-0 win. I can't even remember the last time we shut somebody out. On the road in Europe. So very uncharacteristic win, but a win. They're taking on Bodo, which I think is the big storyline. Like, they are the Cinderella of Europe right now.
Yeah.
Like, not just, I mean, Champions League, there's not really any Cinderella stories, but, I mean, this is a town that holds 40,000 residents in the Arctic Circle. They're so far north in Norway. They're within the Arctic Circle. They get maybe an hour of sunlight every winter. Mm-hmm. And their stadium holds 8,000, roughly 3,000 more than Championship Stadium over at Irvine Great Park. And they're 2 results away from going to a European final. And I just think that's so cool. Like, their town looks like, I mean, when it's all snowed up, and it looks like something out of like a Christmas card. Yeah. It's such a beautiful little town. It's so cool to see a Norwegian team get to. They're the first Norwegian team ever to make it to a European semifinal.
First Norwegian team, first Nordic team.
Yeah.
And after the Conference League semifinals, it's interesting. They became the first team. There was a team in the Conference League. I forget who it was. I think Djurgården from Sweden became the second. So we got 2 Nordic teams in their first ever semifinals. But Bodo Glimt, I like their chances against Tottenham. I really do, because it's a 2-legged semifinal. I don't like it if they make it to the final in Bilbao. Yeah. Because everything about them is like home advantage heavy. That pitch is frozen solid.
Yeah.
I watched a bit of their game, both legs against Lazio, and there's just so much snow on the sides of the pitch before and after every game. They're shoveling it off before every game. That's such a difficult atmosphere to go into and play.
It's like going and playing the Buffalo Bills in December.
Yeah. But the fans are into it. They're all really cool because they brave those temperatures week in and week out. So their recent success in Norway obviously got them to this point. They've sniffed at upsets over the last few years. They've never been able to get it done over 2 legs. It's so cool to see them finally pull off a big result and actually make it to a meaningful European game.
I was going to say they've knocked out a couple, I'm not going to say giants, but teams that on paper should have beaten them. Lazio, they beat them in the Europa League. Then before that, they beat Olympiacos Before that, they lost to Man United. Who did they? Porto.
Yeah.
They've beaten Porto. They've beat Olympiacos. Like these guys have been around and all season, and they've steadily been putting in really good performances. And it's now they're in the semifinals, and it's like, well, where'd they come from? It's like, no, they've been around.
Yeah, it's not.
We're just now finally starting to give them recognition.
Yeah. It's not a fluke. It's really, really impressive. Tottenham, though, you compare the size of their stadiums, you compare their wage bills.
Yeah.
Tottenham should win over 2 legs
They should
pretty
win.
handily. Pretty handily.
I've said that a lot in my years of fandom. I wish Desi was here because I want to know his thoughts on. I mean, I'm looking at their schedule. We get Liverpool. We're not
Loss.
Loss. Give them the trophy, let them celebrate, move on. Next Thursday, they play at home against Bodo. They need to walk away with at least a 2-goal advantage, like 3-1, 4-2, 2-0. I don't care. A 1-goal advantage isn't going to be enough. And it sounds crazy for me to say that for a team like Bodo, but like you said, like that atmosphere is one that I don't think Tottenham are going to be prepared for, even if it's only 8,000 people there. It's just so unique. It's that thing where it's like mentally they know that they should be through. If they still have to go out there and do it, it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting, especially given all the heat on Ange Postecoglou's job, how they go out and perform on the road. Because I know they're going to go out and they're going to play. I'm hoping they go out and play well at home because I forget which competition it was this year. I mean, it was the Europa League, but I forgot who it was. They went out and lost. They 1-0 against Alkmaar, right?
Yeah.
1-0 at home. Just fell flat. So if they do that, they're screwed.
Yeah.
They're screwed.
But we could also see Tottenham 6, Bodo Glimt 0. Like, it really could be like that.
I'm curious who they're going to play. Are they going to play? I mean, they're going to play their main back line, Romero and Van de Ven and Porro, Udogie, but are they going to start Son, who's a little banged up right now, or are they going to trust Wilson Odebear? Are they going to start Lucas Bergvall and Basuma, or are they going to start Sarr and Bergvall, guys who, can just jump? Like, they haven't had as much minutes, It'll be interesting what lineup they put out because they have some options. But Son, I don't think they're going to feel like they need to rush him out for the first leg because he's a little banged up right now. He didn't play in the second leg against Frankfurt.
If Tottenham lose, say at home, 1-0, and then go on the road and lose again, is that the end of the line for Ange?
Absolutely. If you lose at home and then can't even make up for it with a road victory, yeah, you're done. Like, I can see a world where they lose 1-0 at home and then get the job done on the road, go to the final. May or may not win that final, but like I feel like him just getting to the final I think it would be enough to keep his job, but there's people. They sacked Jose Mourinho 5 days before the Carabao Cup final. Like, and this club nothing would surprise me with this club anymore. If they dominate Bodo, if they barely scrape by and they still fire him, like, I wouldn't be surprised.
How the mighty have fallen.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Coming into this, like, Footy Fridays year.
I know.
Like, how high?
I'm still high on him. I want to make that very clear. I think he needs at least another year. I would give him 2. But at a certain point, if the majority of the fans are fed up, if you're cupping your ear to the fan base and people are perceiving it one way versus another.
I apologize to interrupt the program, but there's breaking news. Devin Askew has made a commitment.
Oh, where's he
Where
going?
is he going?
You're not Villanova.
What? So, star Long Beach State point guard in his 5th or 6th year of eligibility is going to Villanova?
Yeah.
Wait, how does he have another year of eligibility? I thought he's already played up. Wow.
That's his Amazon year.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
Breaking news, Devin Askew has transferred to Villanova.
That's crazy. Wow. I thought his career was done. Having been to so many basketball games and watching him play, I thought he was going to be
Ready
done.
to call it.
Or at another mid-major next year.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Wow, Villanova. When was their last national title? 2019?
Yeah, 2019. They've been back since. They didn't even make they didn't make the tourney this year.
Yeah. I'll never forget that Chris Jenkins game-winning 3 in the national championship game. And their coach is just like, yeah, that happened.
That happened.
Jay Wright. He's an analyst now, but he's really good. Back to the footy. Yeah, Tottenham. Like I said, I I would give him another year or two, but at a certain point, if the majority of the fan base is against him, it's hard to stay on the other side, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. What will Daniel Levy do? I don't know. I know that he has not. It's so tough. Being a Tottenham fan is so hard, guys.
Oh,
it's so hard.
What was me? Europa League semifinals.
But it's just there's so many things going on internally that are a distraction, especially considering we're in the semifinals of a European competition. And it's just like, why are we like this? Like, I feel like it's self-inflicting. There was a story about a rat. Did you hear about the rat?
Yeah, we were here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was the last.
Leaking
We were with Desi.
Yeah.
There's a rat.
Indoor information.
We're going to find him.
There's a rat. It's like The Departed.
Yeah.
There's a sneaky rat around here.
It's moments like these that just, it just brings like a self-reflection, and you tell yourself, thank God I'm not a Spurs fan.
Like, who would it, like, is it somebody on the medical staff? Is it in the finance department?
It's the chef.
It's the chef.
It's the
It's
chef.
always the chef, yeah.
It's Daniel Levy. It probably is. No, but that's
Butler.
how it happened.
Butler, yes.
The butler. Oh, it's always the butler. The quiet butler in the corner of the
Yes.
room. Yeah, it was a injury report that got leaked. I guess it was like Wilson Odebear. It was announced the day before the game that Wilson Odebear wasn't going to be fit, but the club had never announced that. So it was like, well, who released that information? So Ange is looking for the rat. Daniel Levy is trying to figure out what kind of sponsorship he can sign next for Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's a mess.
And then you go into the weekend, you get battered by Wolves. Like, that's just the way it goes.
Hey, fair play to Wolves, man. They're in form. They're very well going to stay up into the Premier League, so that's good to see.
Second best record in all of Europe in the month of April, only trailing PSG.
Wow, that's impressive.
I have a question for you, Zach. So, as an Arsenal fan, I have this mentality where at this point Arsenal should just have all hands on deck for the Champions League. Do you think that Ange should also do the same with Spurs in Europa League? Just at this point, like, you probably, you have already saved yourselves from relegation. And from here on out, just avoid, all the disappointment that you're going to get from the games from here on out to the end of the season. So at this point, just have all hands on deck on Europa League. Do you think that Spurs should go with that mentality?
Because Spurs could still finish 17th.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they're only 1 point ahead of West Ham.
Yeah.
I would hate to see us finish one spot ahead of relegation. Like, that would just really bother me, but obviously it's not going to be the end of the world if I'm bothered that they finished in 17th. Obviously, I'm not going to be the only one bothered if they finish 17th.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they finish 17th. They're still in the Premier League for next season. It's a clean slate. So they don't – it's tough. Like, obviously, when it comes to fitness and who's available, yeah, you need to prioritize your Europa League games. I don't care who you're playing. If it's Bodo, if it's Olympiacos, Feyenoord, Man United – you got to have your best players available in this time of the season. And I was listening to Morning Footy from CBS today, and they were talking about Bologna and how Bologna, they just beat Inter Milan. They're trying to fight and get that Champions League qualification, which they were in this year, and they were historically bad. Like, they were so bad in the Champions League league phase this year. But they were talking about how match day 7, they were mathematically eliminated, and they were playing, I believe it was Dortmund.
Mm-hmm.
And they rolled out their A team in the Champions League, because why not? It's the Champions League. Yeah, you want to put your best players out there to compete in the best competition, and that's what they did. Did they get the result? No, but they went out there and they gave their all in that level. And since then, they've been in form. Like, they just beat the top team in Italy, and it's because their coach, I'm blanking on his name right now. It's something very, very Italian, but it's a mentality thing where you're going to go out no matter the competition and you're going to play your best. And I think that's what Tottenham need to do. I think it should start on Sunday against Liverpool. Yeah, they're going to win the league, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't. This should be a litmus test. Yeah, these are the league champions. How do we fare against them if we're going to give it our all? I don't care if it's match day 34 or 4, It's a mentality thing, and I feel like Tottenham are still trying to find that mentality of how to stay focused. So to answer your question, yes and no. Like, yeah, he should prioritize the Europa League, but not like, okay, don't care. But these competitions are useless. Like, the remaining 5 Premier League games still matter. It's not like a loss is a loss. Like, they still matter. You want to go out there and give your all.
All right.
That was a long answer to that, but
Good to know.
yeah.
Just as long as Spurs doesn't lose on purpose just because they know that Liverpool will win the league,
Yeah.
Because that, just like last season. Don't think I forgot last season, dude.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a factor at all. I can't. 18 losses. This has to be the worst season in Tottenham Hotspur history. 11 wins, 4 draws, 18 losses. And they still have a plus 10 goal differential.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's Ange Ball.
Everyone around him has negative. The next closest person is Brentford in 11th with a plus 6. So, Ange Ball. Let's transition to some American soccer.
Mm-hmm.
The Jägermeister Cup. I know I didn't really tell you guys I was going to bring this up, but they announced the groups the other day. And let me pull it up real quick. This is a new competition in the USL, correct?
Yes. New competition.
Second year?
Second year. So this is the League Cup. This is the Carabao Cup for the USL.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Last year they ran it in their inaugural season. The Jägermeister Cup was just for USL League One. So Forward Madison, Union Omaha, Spokane Velocity, like those were the teams who got to compete. This year, and what everybody was really hoping that they would do was expand it into the USL Championship. This is part of that ramping up to get that promotion relegation, to get that advertising money, because so often USL Championship clubs, they compete in the Open Cup, yes, and USL League One clubs compete in the Open Cup, but once they get knocked out in that third or fourth round, they don't get any more visibility on like a national stage. So the USL has finally come out and said, let's put together a competition that can highlight our clubs playing against each other, because everybody loves League One championship matchups because they're not that far apart in terms of quality. Like, you see League One teams genuinely challenge championship teams in the Open Cup. So over the next few weeks for the rest of the season, Jägermeister Cup is going to be run very similar to the Open Cup. All those groups are grouped in regions. So it's not like Orange County are going to have to play Chattanooga Red Wolves, or they're not going to have to play, Union Omaha. They're going to be able to play teams close to home.
Yeah, I'm looking at this Group 1, I guess the West Coast group, if you want to frame it at that. AV Alta, who just beat Orange County, as you said, those lower division teams that have the ability to knock off USL teams. Las Vegas Lights, Monterey Bay FC, Oakland Roots, Orange County, Sacramento Republic, and Spokane Velocity. So 7 teams in a group, it looks like?
Yeah, it's different for each region.
Depends on how many teams.
Yeah, the West has a lot more teams than some of these East Coast regions, but it'll all work out in the end. They've done the math. Yeah,
so I'm looking. So this is interesting to me because I've never seen a point system like this where, 3 points for a win, 1 for a draw, 0 for a loss. But you get an extra point. There's no extra time, and there's actually no draw. It goes straight to a shootout. A shootout win is worth 2. And a shootout loss is worth 1.
It's proper American stuff. We're making up our own rules.
So
we're making up our own rules.
Yeah, so you could get 2 points.
Yeah.
Which is kind of insane to me. It's like in hockey. That's how they do it in hockey.
It's hockey rules.
Yeah.
It's hockey rules. I love it because people are going to have to now learn a new point system and learn about
of course
points. Just because...
No, I mean...
Why not? Why not? Why not make shootouts 2 points?
Yeah. No, but it'll make them interesting. It'll make teams, want to go for it. We're in a shootout. Did we play great today? No, but we can still salvage that extra point by putting out our 5 best penalty takers.
And it's great to have penalties straight after because, again, you don't want the actual league performances to get diminished, both teams in the Jägermeister Cup, them being exhausted. I've seen it so many times with Monterey Bay FC where we make a cup run into the 3rd or 4th round, and then we're gutted for the rest of the year because we've been exhausted playing a midweek game. I think this gives teams an opportunity to challenge themselves but also rotate themselves. Those fringe guys in the championship, they're going to get action against these League One teams. I mean, it's not the Open Cup, but it's still a chance to get new guys out there, and I like this. I like this a lot. I'm a big fan of the Jägermeister Cup.
So these points don't go towards their standings in the USL.
Jägermeister
this is
Cup
completely separate entity.
It's a separate competition.
Gotcha.
Separate competition.
Well, Orange County, they are taking on Las Vegas Lights, Monterey Bay. They'll be on the road. So that'll be May 31st. And then Sacramento back home and then back on the road to Oakland Roots, which they just played and they just lost to on the road. So tough road games for them. Yes. They got to go to the Bay Area twice.
Twice. Well, they got to come to us in May, and then they got to come up again in June for the actual league game.
Yeah.
So it's more travel, but again, it's local stuff. It's doable. And for teams like AV Alta, who are isolated out there in the Antelope Valley, they're making the trip up, and we'll talk about this for starting fives, a little teaser, this weekend. And they have to make that trip up to Sacramento. It's a lot better to have them play around the Antelope Valley than it is to have them travel to New Mexico or Phoenix, right? It's just not feasible.
Yeah. No, it should be very exciting. I think it's definitely the MLS is the MLS, right? It's, you can say it's flopping or it's growing, whatever, but the USL is growing. Like, it is proven to be growing, and you can buy in now. If you're listening, buy into the USL now, because it's only going to grow from here. So I'm excited for this competition. And then it's also going to be going on. So there's the Jägermeister Cup, the U.S. Open Cup, and then the league. So do you think any team has like a legit shot at winning a treble? Has it ever been done?
I don't think it's possible just because of the caliber of MLS competition.
Yeah, you're not going to see any.
But those teams like Louisville City, who are just proven winners, I think you would have to look to the East for teams who might want to do the double in the Jägermeister Cup. Colorado Springs, maybe. They're still good. I don't know, though. This Jägermeister Cup could provide some real shockers.
Do we know who won last year?
Last year, it came down to Omaha, and I forget who won it. I remember watching the final, but I can't remember who won it.
Small team, though, like USL 2 or 1 or 2 teams.
Yeah, last year's competition.
That's right.
It was only League One. It'd be cool to see Forward Madison win it.
Madison, Wisconsin?
Yeah, they have a great USL League One team, one of the best, one of the most fashionable, but also one of the most well-run. They bring a lot of people out to games. They made the semifinals last year, lost in a shootout, but it'd be great to see them make another run for it.
Did they have a bunch of like former college players on that team?
Yeah, former college guys. At the League One level, that's what you get. You get kind of these journeyman college guys. It's a mixed bag, but in the rare case of a few professionals still trying to make their way, you get really like diamonds in the rough.
Yeah.
And if you're a good squad like Madison, or I keep bringing up Union Omaha just because they're probably the most prevalent USL League One team, you get real diamonds in the rough, like Pedro Dolabella, who was in starting 11 during the last USL League One season. He now plays at a championship club. So USL League One is such an interesting breeding ground for talent because it's such a high-level competition that if you're playing there, you should have ambitions to move up more than you do at USL League Two, where you're still in college, or at the UPSL, where what we see with Long Beach, we have former college guys who are still trying to make it at that level and have talent, but are not being challenged week in, week out with the same caliber competition.
Yeah.
Like we see Long Beach FC play 88-30 and win 7-1 because not every team is at that same caliber talent. Not to say that, it's a bad club or, they don't recruit good players.
There's a gap.
There's a gap within the league.
Yeah, I mean, the most competitive league in all of the world, do you guys know what it is? In terms of, like, points difference from the top to the bottom?
No.
The English Championship.
Ooh.
Yeah, I agree.
Every team, it's the most competitive league in the world. Like, every team is trying to get back to the Premier League. Every team has something to prove every season. And it turns into, like, we have, I believe, there's 2 teams at the top. Leeds and I think Burnley are fighting for the 2. They're going to get the 2 automatic spots.
They already got promoted.
They already got promoted. There's like 6 teams fighting for those final 4 spots. But then there's like 8 teams fighting to stay out of relegation zone. And they're all within 3 or 4 points of each other. So it's just so tight within that league. Whatever block of teams you're looking at, near whether it's the top, the middle, or the bottom, they're going to be neck and neck. And I feel like that's where USL is heading. It's becoming that, obviously there's no incentive to get promoted into the MLS, but it's that kind of like chip on your shoulder. We still have to prove something. We're going to go out and it's just play carefree. And I feel like that's kind of what's happening with the USL, where the competition is getting better and the gap is going to shorten in the USL specifically, like just the top division.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love the USL. Obviously keep trying to promote it and go and support your local teams, whether it's USL or a league below, because that's where that's where the real stories are written.
Absolutely.
They're honestly making much more contribution to the game here in America than MLS at this point. And this is coming from an MLS fan. I mean, don't get me
The
wrong.
MLS expert.
The MLS expert.
I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not like Eli, where I'm like an MLS fanatic.
Right.
I like MLS, but I'm not like MLS only. Like heck no. I do appreciate what USL is doing, and I think it's admirable, very admirable. It's amazing seeing how this league that has always been really, I'm sorry if I offend you with this, under the shadow of MLS over the past decade.
Oh, yeah.
But now they're truly making a name for themselves and breaking that shadow and trying to compete with MLS. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's well deserved, and we can only hope that they continue to grow. Well, like I said, they are growing. Buy in now. It's only going to get better from here. Let's go into the 5-a-side showdown.
Mm-hmm.
We're still calculating our points, but I'm going to start with Desi's team since he's not here. He sent me his lineup. In goal, we got Wojciech Szczesny for Barcelona going up against Real Madrid this Saturday, I believe.
Yes.
Saturday. It's either Saturday or Sunday.
Copa del Rey final.
Copa del Rey final. I believe it's at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon if you're on the West Coast. So tune into that. At defense, he's got David Colina. Oh, I'm going to butcher this club name. Velge Bold Club versus Aalborg FC. Fighting relegation in the Danish Superliga relegation playoff. So he's sticking to his Danes.
Mm-hmm.
His defenseman, David Colina for Velge Bold Club.
Love that.
Good name. Midfielder, Granit Xhaka for Bayer Leverkusen versus Augsburg. I feel like we haven't really talked about... Well, Leverkusen just aren't what they were last year, so not surprised that we haven't had a lot of their players in the lineups this year. Eberechi Eze for Crystal Palace versus Aston Villa in the FA Cup semifinals.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good pick. I feel like that's a game that Crystal Palace should jump all in on the opportunity to make it to that final. Knowing that Aston Villa
break their spell of mediocrity.
They have the potential to do it too.
Yeah. And up front, the GOAT, Lionel Messi.
Mm-hmm.
Inter Miami versus
dang.
FC Dallas. Did you have Messi too?
Yeah.
Oh!
I'll switch mine.
You guys are going to have to fight over it.
No, it's okay. I'll switch mine.
You can pick up Suarez.
Yeah, I think I'll do that.
Yeah? All right. So here's Desi's players. Szczesny, Colina, Xhaka, Eze, and Messi. He's going for it.
Mm-hmm.
He's just some big... I mean, David Colina is not a big name, but he might be after this week.
The goalkeeper?
No, Colina for Velje Bold Club?
Oh, okay, sorry. Is this
have you heard of
Charlotte
this?
has a goalkeeper with the same name.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was going to say, maybe after this week we'll know who he is. Who's next?
I think I'm probably still at the bottom. I need to calculate my scores too. But we'll start in goal for me. We're going to go to the Women's Champions League. Barcelona, obviously their men's squad has the Copa del Rey final. Barcelona's women's squad is in the Women's Champions League semifinals. They're up 4-1 on Chelsea. They came out and smashed them in the first leg,
right.
which was crazy. They're going to need, I think, a good goalkeeping performance in the second leg, though, because Chelsea are not going to go quietly into the night. Give me Catalina Coll. She's Spain's #1 goalkeeper for the best team in the world. She's been obviously a top 3 keeper in the world for the last few years now with Barcelona. And, yeah, she's obviously going to get the start in that second leg. Need a big performance from her. If Barcelona are going to keep a clean sheet, they're going to go through. But if they concede a few goals, things could get dicey. On my back line, give me Paco Craig. He's a USL veteran, just absolute stalwart in the USL. He's played all over the league, played at Louisville forever, a couple years in Miami. He plays in North Carolina now. They got their Jägermeister Cup matchup against Charlotte Independence, the Dogwood Derby. They just met in the Open Cup, too.
I like that name.
And they went back and forth on social media. It was a lot of fun. North Carolina won 3-1. There was a clear gap between the sides. North Carolina scored 3 goals in something like 15 minutes. But they were shaken just a little bit. Paco Craig, he didn't appear in that game, but he should appear in this Open Cup game. He's 32 years old, been around for a long time. Just need a stalwart on my back line. In the midfield, we're going to go to England. Newcastle United, Eddie Howe is back. Their manager, battling pneumonia, is going to be back on the touchline for their game against Ipswich. I think it's going to give him a huge boost. And in the midfield, give me a man who's had a resurgence after being away for the game for a while, Sandro Tonali.
Oh, you poached one of my players.
Oh,
man. I was worried when you brought up a Newcastle player. All right, continue.
He's been so good this season.
Damn it.
Obviously, he was out of the game for a while with that whole betting scandal and betting on matches, but he's back and he's still really good. He's still, I don't want to say he's one of the best in the world, but he's still really, really good. So they got Ipswich, who are already relegated. Newcastle still fighting for a European spot, whether that's the Conference League, if it's the Europa League or it's the Champions League, we're yet to see, but Sandro Tonali should put in a big performance. Then we're also going to go back to the United States. AV Alta, give me a guy who I've been following for a little bit. He's got quite the journey. Jimmy Villalobos, 29 years old. He's been tearing it up in League One this season. I know the big rule with our starting fives and starting 11s is not to chase form. Like, if somebody's already been scoring a lot, it's probably not the best to pick them for the next 2 games. And yes, he did cool off in their last game at Spokane Velocity, but in his last 3 games, he has 3 goals. He's been really good. He plays really well. I like the way he plays. He's a fox in the box. He's an undersized guy.
Like that.
But he's had a great, journey from community college to bouncing around League One, never really finding a home, but he is a native of Bakersfield. He is a native of the Antelope Valley greater area. So to be able to play at home in front of home fans has really given him a huge boost this season.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And then finally up top, we're going to go to the NWSL. The leading scorer in the NWSL right now, one of the most informed players in the world. She has scored in her last, 5 matches. In those 5 matches, she has 7 goals. Wow. Playing for Gotham FC, Esther Gonzalez. Plays for Spain. She's 32 years old. She's one of the veterans of that Spain team, but she's had an incredible career as well. Never played for Barcelona, interestingly enough, in Liga Femenil. But she did play for Atleti Madrid, she played for Levante, and she played for Real Madrid before moving to New York. So
well, that's why. You can't go from
either one of those.
Yeah.
But she's always been one of the best players in Spain. And like Barcelona, they operate like Munich did in the Bundesliga forever, right? Picking up those best players. So Esther Gonzalez up top, she's in form right now. They got a very winnable game this weekend against the Washington Spirit. It's a battle really at the top of the table, but Washington did just pick up their first loss, so they are beatable. So from back to front, for me, it's Cull in goal, Craig at the back, Tonali and Villalobos in the midfield, and Esther Gonzalez up top.
All right. Yeah, this is the first time we've had 2 players poached from another player on an episode, right?
I think so.
Yeah. It's happened before, but twice in the same day.
First time ever,
First time ever. Hopefully, let's hope that one of these 5 players is not on your list. Otherwise, 3 for 3.
Yeah.
We'll start in goal. Last week, I picked Stuver. He put in a man of the match performance the week his last game. So I just picked him on a bad week. But I'm gonna go with another MLS goalkeeper. I'm gonna go with Carlos Miguel for New York Red Bulls.
Nice, that's a good pick.
Lackluster performance against DC United, but he was man of the match with an 8.5 2 games before that. So I expect him to get back on track. New York Red Bulls are taking on Montreal, who are in dead last. So I expect him.
Yeah, should be an easy home game.
Yeah, well, I expect him to get a couple shots on target and get in the way of them. I'm really banking on a clean sheet, though, for Carlos Miguel and the New York Red Bulls. In defense, take me to the English Championship, the most competitive league in all of the world. Give me Jaden Bogle, the defender for Leeds United. I've picked his other fullback on the left side, Junior Firpo, before. Jaden Bogle plays on the right side. He has 2 assists and a goal in his last 3 games. 8.4, 8.1, 8.8. He's in form. I'm riding high on his form. I'm gonna continue to buy in on that stock going up. So Jaden Bogle, Carlos Miguel in midfield. Since I couldn't pick Sandro Tonali, I had to pivot to another Premier League midfielder, and it pains me to say it, but I'm gonna pick a guy who I think will either get a goal or an assist against my Spurs. Give me Alexis McAllister. Ooh. For Liverpool, 7.4 average rating in 32 Premier League matches this year. I just kind of threw them in there last minute. I didn't want to put a Tottenham player out there just because he's a Tottenham player. Mm-hmm. They're playing Liverpool. They're trying to win the league. Just give me a 7.5 and move on. Thank you very much. My other midfielder, Marcelo Brozovic for Al Nassr. They are taking on Yokohama Marinos in the AFC Champions League Elite Final stage. Mm-hmm. So many of these guys that you know these players and you just forget that they've moved to Saudi Arabia and they're just kind of like letting their career die down there. I'm keeping an eye on you, Marcelo Brozovic. All right. So put him in the lineup. He's been pretty good. 24 matches, 5 assists, average of 7.6. He's just average. I'm just looking for a solid 7.5 rating out of him. And up front, I said it about a month ago, I'm going to use this chip when I really feel like I need to use it. I'm using the Harry Kane chip. I'm using the Harry Kane chip.
Dang, dude.
Yeah. Did I steal another one of your players?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Just we didn't think we were gonna
Yeah,
need
we
to
weren't
push the Harry
expecting it.
Kane button this early.
Well, they're out of the Champions League,
Mhm.
and I think they can wrap up the Bundesliga this weekend. I'd have to double check. Either way, yeah, I'm cashing in on it now sooner than later. I don't want them to have it wrapped up and then he doesn't really play that too much the rest of the season. Like I said, cashing in, pushing the Harry Kane chip now. So to round it up, front to back, Harry Kane, Marcelo Brozovic, Alexis McAllister, Jaden Bogle, Carlos Miguel.
This is
All
22
right.
West Radio.
All right, then.
88.1 FM,
Let's start at goalkeeper. We'll go to the Premier League, also Newcastle. Let's go with Nick Pope.
Okay. Let's do it.
Last starting five, I picked Verbruggen for Brighton. Did not do well for me, so hopefully this time Nick Pope can do the job for me. They're facing Ipswich, and yeah, again, in theory, should be a relatively easy win. So I hope Nick Pope. I hope Newcastle just doesn't concede. That's what I'm hoping for. So yeah, in Nick Pope, I trust for this week. For the defense, I'm also going to choose another Premier League player, one of your boy actually, Emmanuel Agbadou.
Agbadou.
Okay, almost close.
Wow, second appearance in our starting fives.
First time he's showing up for my starting five. So yeah, Wolves are playing. Let's see here. They're facing Leicester tomorrow. So again, relatively easy win. Hopefully, I mean, dude, knowing my luck, Wolves could possibly lose. So
You might have cursed
you better
us.
not lose, bro.
Done.
You better not lose.
I haven't talked about Wolves on this show for that reason alone, just because
You have been very quiet on them,
That's
and
true.
I feel like
That's
he's letting it. He's marinating.
Like,
yeah.
Wolves have been killing it lately.
Yeah, they're the
The
hottest.
past few games.
I mean, he did say that only PSG have more points than them in the month of
April.
the
Yeah,
month of April.
simply because we move in silence sometimes. That's the way it needs to happen.
Real G's move in silence like lasagna.
That's how it
That's a good
happens.
saying, dude. So yeah, in Agbadou, I'm trusting this week. Hopefully, Wolves can get the win over Leicester. In the midfield, I'm also going to choose someone from the USL League One. Let's go with Luis Gil. He's been a player that I've been having an eye on over the last 2 weeks for Spokane Velocity. He's been very consistent. One of their key midfielders in their last game versus AV Alta, in their 2-1 win. He got an 8.5 score. In their 4-1 win against Texoma on April 13th, 7.8. 6.9 rating versus Portland in the previous game, so not too good. But in the previous 2 games before that, 7.3 in the Open Cup versus Tacoma, and then an 8.5 in their 4-0 clean sheet win versus Greenville. So this guy has been one of their key midfielders. So hopefully he will put up a good performance. Spokane, as a matter of fact, they're facing Oakland Roots, I think, in the Juggermaster Club.
Yeah, first round.
So, you know, you're going to have all hands on deck for that game. So hopefully Luis Gil can put up some good numbers for me. And as for my second midfielder, I'm also going to choose someone from the Saudi Pro League. We're also playing, as a matter of fact, right now live in the AFC Elite Champions thing.
Yeah.
Whatever that competition is.
Well, basically their version of the Champions League for that area, that region. Let's go with Salem Al-Dawsari from Al Hilal. He has been killing it right now for Al Hilal. 8.4 versus Al Shabab on April 21st. 2 goals scored versus Al Khalij, 9.6 rating. And then, of course, 7.4 rating versus Al Nasser. Yeah, this guy's been very consistent. 7.97 average rating on FootMob. So easily their best, if not one of their best wingers so far for Al Hilal. So, and as a matter of fact, I did get the notification that he provided an assist.
I was going to say, I was just about to tell you, he does have an assist. Through 32 minutes, he's got a 7.1.
There we go.
And Al Hilal are up 2-0.
Yes, sir. Hopefully he can get at least a little bit more of that in the FootMob rating after that game. And last but not least, up top, I've been wanting to get her in my team. I think you were the one who got it that week. I was going to get her, but I chose someone else. This time I will be picking her, the MVP from last season in the NWSL. And Golden Boot, if I'm not mistaken, for Orlando Pride?
No, that was
No?
Tema Chawinga.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Barbara
that's
Banda
right.
was the runner-up.
Runner-up. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to stick with her this time. Let's go with Barbara Banda from Orlando Pride. They're facing Angel City FC today at 5 p.m. Pacific time.
That'll be a
So
good
it
match.
should be a good game, indeed. And hopefully Barbara can score a goal at least once in that game for me. So there you have it, boys.
I think Barbara Banda might lead all players across starting 11 and starting 5 this year. She's been picked at least 5 or 6 times.
You picked her for starting 11 back when we had like a team starting 11.
Like episode 2 that we did.
Yeah,
together.
it was very early. And then last week, or technically 2 weeks ago, I picked Barbara Banda for my 5-a-side. She did score. It was a 7.9 rating. And then this week we got another Barbara Bondo.
I feel like
she's very popular.
She's been sprinkled in a few times as well in starting 11s too. I feel like she leads all players.
She's consistent, man.
Should we do like a end of season awards, like player who maybe have been picked the most, but also put up like the most points for us?
Sure,
at the end
for
of the season?
sure.
Yeah, we can have the Stinker Award for the lowest rating, which
score.
I think right now is going to Brad Stuber with a 5.1.
Now, remember when Schlotterbeck?
He had a 3, huh?
Went against Munich. You picked Schlotterbeck.
Oh, that's right.
And he got a red card. And
that was like my first pick too.
Yeah, that might be the lowest.
All right, we'll have to go back and find the exact score and the lowest rating. But yeah, we'll have an award season. I figured, what's our last week going to be of the competition? Just so we.
Oh, maybe that first week of May.
First week of May.
I'm not sure when school's out.
Oh, I'm thinking like after the week of. What week is finals?
It's coming up.
All right, how about the week of Mother's Day?
Yeah, that can be.
So Mother's Day is on the 11th. We'll record on the 16th.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, 1, 2, 3. 3 weeks from now.
All right.
All right.
Sounds
3
good.
weeks from now, you will know who is victorious in the five-a-side showdown. Will it be Desi? Will it be Diego? Will it be JD? Or will it be me? Tune in to find out. Thank you for tuning into Footy Fridays on this beautiful day. Don't go anywhere. Dunk Discussions is up next on the 22 West Sports Block. Thank you, everyone.
This is 22 West Radio, 88.1 FM, HD3, KKJZ, Long Beach, Los Angeles, streaming at 22westmedia.com.